Hello and welcome to the video. This is a quick update on these things here. These are the Eachine EV300Ds. Now, I did a first look on these a while ago. I'd only had them a couple of days to kind of talk about my first impressions. And these on paper and actually in your hands are very, very good goggles. I think I still prefer the Sky Zone 030s or 030s, which are the OLED ones, but these are also runners for best non-fat shark binocular style goggles. Now, they have lots and lots of cool features in here, but the big thing that let them down that came to light in further testing was a huge latency issue. 3 or 4 times what you would get in other goggles. Now, that is fixed, so I want to show you how you fix it and also show you the results and kind of talk about my thoughts about this whole problem with these goggles at the end. So these instructions have appeared in a couple of different places. I'm going to put a link in the description so you can actually download them yourself. As part of those instructions, there is the link to the file that you're going to need to put onto the goggles to update the firmware. Now, to update the firmware, you're going to need an on-the-go cable. They're relatively inexpensive, and you're going to need some form of USB storage device. Now, in the images in this manual, it's kind of showing an SD card reader. However, just a standard USB thumb drive will work fine. Once you have those couple of pieces, download the merge.bin file that's actually in the instructions and then copy it into the root directory of your USB drive, then plug the USB drive into the on-the-go cable and then plug the on-the-go cable into the USB port at the bottom of the goggles, power it up, hold the mode button to the left-hand side to enter the picture menu and navigate your way there until you find the software update USB. Select it, confirm that you want to do it, and it will do the update. Once the update is finished, it will shut the goggles down, and the next time you reboot it, it's using the new firmware. It only takes about 10-15 seconds to apply the update, so it's quite quick and easy once you've got a hold of an on-the-go cable. So to see what impact there is on the latency, I'm going to use my GoPro Hero 7 Black Edition and stick it on 200 frames a second, so each frame is 5 milliseconds, and film what I'm going to do. Now what I'm going to do is hold the Fat Shark battery in the shot at the back with the FPV camera pointing to it and try and also get that same view in the goggles. So as I press the button on the Fat Shark battery, the LEDs come on, and then it's counting the number of frames between when that LED appears in real life and when it appears in the goggles, which is exactly the same way that I did it last time. Now, last time we found the HDOs were running at about 35 milliseconds. The Eachines before the update were running 120, 130. It was horrific, the amount of latency, and you only really noticed it when you were flying fast. So with a new update on, I'm very pleased to announce that the results are identical. With latency is now no longer an issue. It's now updating at the same speed as some of the best goggles around. So this is really good news. It means for all of you that have ordered these, don't worry, you can apply the update and away you go. Again, links to the stuff that I've used here in the description. Sounds like there has been a couple of merge.bin files around. The one that I used is in the description. The very first attempt from Eachine to fix this introduced like a tearing issue in PAL in the image. With the one that I've just put on here, that seems to be okay. But that kind of leads me on to a couple of points. And it's a good job to Eachine for actually getting this fixed relatively quickly. At the moment, most people I'm speaking to over in China are still not back at work. So Eachine have taken this seriously enough to actually get somebody on their machine coding to get the updates out. It's just a shame that this wasn't picked up when it was actually shipped. These goggles shouldn't have made it past QA and into the hands of anybody until they had done a very basic test on the latency and made sure that that was all working. I do think they've missed a trick. They should be using the SD card rather than an on-the-go cable and extra bits that you have to buy. Why we couldn't just use the SD card for the firmware update, who knows? But hopefully Eachine have learnt their lesson, and now going forward the firmware update will be available in future models from the SD card, and then you don't have to mess about with extra bits just to update your goggles so they work properly. And finally, I think Eachine need to do a better job as well about letting people know this is going on. This has kind of leaked out. Looking on the websites on both Eachine and Banggood at these goggles, there isn't any links to these update files. They should be there under some kind of firmware tab or something else for something as fundamentally wrong with goggles as a ridiculous latency. They should have done an awful lot more to let people know that that update was there. I guess someone at Eachine thought that was kind of accepting responsibility for shipping a product that had that major flaw. But in my humble opinion, they just need to bite that bullet and let people know that it's available and make it easy to get hold of the update. I shouldn't have to try and point you to a Facebook group to try and find an update if you've spent this much money on goggles so that they work properly. And they also need to add version numbers and release notes into the firmware. The fact that there's been a couple of merge.bins about, which gave slightly different results, they both have identical names, you probably struggle to see the difference between them, isn't brilliant. Call them version 1.1 or 1.2, however you want to do it. Stick some release notes in there and tell us what's been fixed. That's how grown-up companies do it. People like DJI, TBS, iNav, BrainFPV, loads of different people will actually tell you what's changed in the software as they release it. And that, I think, is what Eachine need to do going forward. So hopefully Eachine has learnt an awful lot of lessons. I definitely have learnt some lessons in this. From here on in, when I get anything from Eachine, I'm going to be testing latency. In fact, probably going to be testing latency on all FPV goggles. But if you have these, you've been panicking, go and get the update. Again, link in the description, pop it on your goggles, and you'll have a really nice set of goggles that work really well. And as I said, are one of my two favourite non-Fat Shark binocular style goggles around at the moment. Thank you for watching my video and watching right to the very end. If you want to find out what I'm currently working on, you can follow me on social media by searching for Painless360 in the usual places. If you'd like to become part of the inner circle, then you can become a Patreon. Details are in the description and you get lots of additional benefits. Check out the playlist section on the channel too. I organise all of my videos into playlists and it's called something like Introduction to or for Beginners. All of the content is aimed so that you can start at the very beginning and it teaches you that subject, starting with simple principles and moving up to teach you everything you need to know.